Hello, kinky readers and viewers. My name is Alex Bridges, ABDL and spanking fiction author, and I have diaperperv on the line. Diaperperv is an ABDL content creator, site owner, and professional mommy, and has done some of my favorite pieces. And we're going to talk a little bit about her journey, her interest in the ABDL space, and the future. So before we jump into this, diaperperv, where can people find your work?
Oh, geez. The easiest place to find me is go to youtube.com/diaperperv. And that's my YouTube channel. I have my greatest reach. There's a lot of educational videos on there, and all my links are on the tab thingy on the top right or on the About Me page.
Perfect. And I want to say thank you again for making time for me today.
Yeah,
So,
totally. I'm looking forward to this. Oh, one thing I want to correct is that I'm not a pro mommy.
oh, you're not. I'm sorry, my mistake.
No, I used to be, but I quit like 8 months ago, I think now.
No worries. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
So, in that instance, then, why don't we talk a little bit about how you became diaper perv? How did you get into this, what I think we all can agree is a pretty weird space?
Okay. Um, well, when I first bought my first computer in 1996, and I know I've repeated this story on other platforms and podcasts, I was 19 and I got onto the internet on my 20.8 modem. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to search something that I thought I was completely alone in. And I searched a series of words. I didn't know what to type in. I didn't know that these fetishes had a name or whatever, or there were other people like me at this point. So I typed in a series of words and it took me to wetset.net. And if any of you have been to Wetset or remember it, half the site was about wedding and omurashi, and the other half was for ABDL, except back then it wasn't called ABDL. It was called infantilism, big babies, a bunch of other words to describe it. So I clicked on the other half of that site and saw people in diapers and saw different age play scenarios. So I would look on that forum and and it kind of clicked. Just guys in diapers and seeing them diapered and seeing them all cute and helpless. Something kind of kicked in me that I wanted to put them in the diapers and be that mom role or the big sister role or the person that's not wearing the diaper role.
I can really relate to that origin story because similarly, a little bit later than you, but when I got my first computer, because for all those younger people out there, you used to not get a computer until you were an adult pretty much. And I got my first computer when I was also 19. Got out there on the internet, and I think the first thing I found was what was left of DPF, the DPF site, and it wasn't active anymore, but there was still old content up there. Um, it's where I found my first ABDL story, which still exists somewhere out there, and it was like fascinating to me, and I read it like many times. And a few years ago, probably less than that, I stumbled upon it somewhere else, and I read it again, and I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. you know, it's it's like, is this good, or did I just find it back when? Um,
Yeah, well, because it was the first thing you saw. You're like, whoa, this
exactly.
is magic.
Exactly. And there are still stories like that are out there, especially on Daily Diapers, not on the forum, but on the main site. There are so many stories that I remember from like my first discoveries, um, that I was just like totally infatuated with. And then also finding Wetset, which still exists, and I think
Yes,
there's still producing content. Not
yes.
not as much of it, I think, maybe as they were back then, but it still does exist.
Yeah, and most of the content they produce is on clips for sale now, and he
Yeah.
just outsources it out. And Paul, the owner of Wetset, was actually my first affiliate when I started ineedtopee.com.
I loved I Need to Pee.
Oh, okay, cool.
Um, I love, and there were other ones. I'm assuming you probably owned all the I Need to.coms.
No.
No, because there was an I Need to poop.com.
Oh yeah, I bought that domain, but I didn't really do anything with it.
Uh, um, well, I guess we remember things with a lot of advantages in this space.
I mean, if I could have gotten like processing easily for I need to poop, then I probably would have pursued it.
Yeah, naturally. It's in my head. It's all one big blur of a lot of pornography, as I'm
Oh my,
as I'm sure it is for a lot of people.
you kill me.
Um, so you discovered that you are were not alone in liking these things, and you gravitated toward the mommy role, which is less common. It's just less common. So how did you kind of feel discovering, hey, there are people who want me to do the thing that I want to do to them?
Um, at that time, it was difficult because there was nobody really in my city back then. I mean, this is like 1996. It's like how many young people had computers and then would like look up their interests and then that was in your city that you would find attractive. So basically, I didn't really find anyone to like interact with in that, in how I wanted to interact with. And that's tough. It's tough. It's, I think it's more difficult than having a diaper fetish, like you yourself wearing it, because you could do that at home. Like buy the products and wear it at home and have fun and look at porn and have fun with it. Whereas with mine, I wanted to do the acts with other people, but I couldn't really find other people my age.
So I'm really glad you brought that up because I've seen people say that before. I've seen other caregivers say that before, where it's, hey, you guys are ABDLs, and I know how much you want a caregiver, but you can regress on your own. You can wear on your own. But as a caregiver, what am I supposed to do? Like cook chicken nugget dinosaurs to serve to no one? Like how do I be a caregiver? Without someone to actually care for. Um,
Right. Yeah,
and
you just
the
masturbate
little in
to
me
like,
says, well, just put a diaper on a bear, right?
no,
But it's not the same.
no.
Um,
And this was before Instagram. Like now I could just, well, now I just harass the my many diaper boys in my harem and be like, what are you doing? Are you wearing a diaper? Well, you should be. And then start from there. Or just
mhm.
go see, my play partner here.
um, and then, so the internet's an interesting place to start at that age, or not that age, but back then.
Yeah.
Because things like DPF, which for folks who may not be familiar, that was Diaper Pail Friends that actually started as a newsletter magazine.
Yes. And please watch my YouTube video retrospective on DPF.
Yeah, it's great. And
It was the best.
I'm sure we sound like a couple of old queens talking about back in the day, but um, like that was so revolutionary. Like someone was like they knew there were enough people who liked this that they could create a magazine about it, and it was a way to really start creating this community for the very first time. If there hadn't been a DPF, I don't think there would have been a Daily Diapers or an A Disc or any of that. And it was a way for people to find other people into what they were into. And the other main way, of course, was BDSM and kink and fetish clubs.
Mhm.
Um, did you ever get into that scene? Was that ever a way that you met ABDLs?
No, no, I have never been to those clubs ever before. So I have no knowledge of them. I actually kind of fell out of it and forgot that I had a diaper fetish.
There are
For
people right now going, how does that happen?
I know, no, I forgot about it for like a good until the last day of CapCon 2018. That was when it kicked in again. And I was already doing like pro mommy sessions at that time. And the diaper fetish didn't even kick back in until Capcom. Isn't that messed up? So I forgot about it for like, shit, like almost 20 years.
And what's really interesting there is that, I mean, there were two separate things. So you were doing mommy stuff while your diaper fetish was kind of latent. And I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, how's that work? Don't they go hand in hand? Uh, Obviously, for you, they don't. So tell me about that.
No, no, because they're very different things in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of crossover in my play, but when I started like pro mommying or pro diaper fantasy facilitating, that's way too many syllables, dude. I'm just gonna call it pro nursery. And then I wanted to do it because hubby and I weren't having kids. Like we had talked about kids and we decided, okay, this I don't think this is the path for us, but I still wanted to get out my mom side. And both my ex-husband and my husband call me mom. Like not mommy, which is different, but mom. Like, okay, mom, sure, mom, whatever, mom, I hate you, mom. And that's just my nature in general. It's like, okay, we have a schedule, we have got to do this, I'm gonna cook this, and then at this time we're doing this other thing. And so I just wanted to get that out and know what it was like to look after someone and not be in charge of my own schedule. Because
Mm-hmm.
I've had a really lucky life. I've had a really good life. I'm blessed that I get to not have a day job. And I haven't had a day job for many years. And I wanted to do something that was, I don't know how to describe it because I've never like truly thought about it, but do something with my time that wasn't mine. So when you have kids, then when you're a real parent, then no, if you're sick, if you're tired, if you just got off a plane and haven't slept for 24 hours, you have to be a mom. So I
Yep.
wanted that.
You know, my own mother has said that if she had never had kids, she probably never would have bothered cooking. Um, it's just says if I don't feed you, they're going to take you away from me. So I'm gonna, I have to do it. Um,
Mom
and
sounds fun.
and it's you're spot on. There is no off. Um, but what that also I think does, and this is what I think a lot of people like about the caregiver role, is it's because you're needed.
Oh, totally.
Like you want to feel needed.
Yeah, of course. It's
Mm-hmm.
super important for a lot of people. Needed, accepted, wanted. And I mean, I get all that stuff with my husband too. Like, I make sure that he's always fed, that he has everything he needs, everything's taken care of. But this is it's something different. I wanted to like give back. So I started babysitting in 2015. I didn't have a nursery, and I don't think a nursery is that important either for the entire setting of the scenario and the whole feeling of it. And I just posted on Craigslist, and I think on Stanley Thornton's site, the ABDL bedwetting site, and that was it. And things started getting busy even without a nursery because enough people were coming to Vegas. There's so many conventions here, so many vacationers here, and that people were here anyways. And they're here on their company's dime, away from their family, with complete freedom. So it was really nice.
Mm-hmm. And I've been on that end of it as well. I have played with a pro mommy or pro dom a few times.
Uh-huh.
Um, the first one, it was in her setting, but ABDL wasn't really something that she did. It was just, I think it was an apartment that she happened to have, which told me right away that she made a very good living because it was in a city where you don't own two apartments unless you make a very good living. Um, and it was set up as more of a dungeon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really distract me, but it was very clearly like, I don't remember everything about, being that age, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't a St. Andrew's cross. Um, Other
You
times,
didn't grow up with one in the basement?
I don't think so, but I have very fuzzy memories. Um, and I've played in hotel rooms, which is, you're very aware that you're aware of where you are, right?
Right.
Especially if like you had to like get a parking sticker or something, because like you know what you're probably wearing under your pants and what's in your backpack. And um, the one time the last time I did, we stopped in the middle of the scene. She peers out the peephole and says, "The cleaning lady's out there, so I can't paddle you at the moment." Instead, she found something quieter to do to me. And then when I left, the cleaning lady was down the hall, and she had heard.
Uh-huh.
And she just cast this look at me like, "Huh." and and I just walked past her, crinkling with my princess diaper on underneath my shorts. Um, that in and of itself was kind of fun. But I did once when I was traveling on business. Like I have a free evening. What do I want to do? Like I'm in a city that has pro mommies in it, because the one I'm in doesn't actually have one. It has a handful of pro doms who specifically don't do ABDL. Um, and it wasn't when what I
This whole time I'm gonna try and guess your city.
um, it wasn't in a nursery. It was just in a house. And, one room was kind of set up as more of a nursery type bedroom, but we're not talking about a crib. We're talking about a closet full of ABL stuff and a cute bedspread and all that. And what I kind of like about that more than a nursery is it makes it seem more ordinary. What really makes me feel little is not when I'm in a nursery surrounded by, cribs and playpens. It's when I'm in the family room
Right.
and I'm sitting there in my diaper and I got my bear and I'm watching a cartoon, because it's just like, yeah, this is how normal it is.
That's totally normal. That's what
Yeah,
you do.
exactly. It's not confined to the nursery. This is the way I am in every room of the house and everywhere
But
else.
but also in a hotel room, it's easy for the caregiver to spin it like, hey, we just came back from the theme parks, we're on vacation, because mommies and babies go on vacation, daddies and babies go on vacation.
Yeah, and that's, I God, I love that you brought that up, because that's something that is, I think, just good advice. And I don't want to go down like the advice rabbit hole of if you're going to visit a pro, but having a scenario
Mhm.
in mind definitely helps make for a better scene.
Yes, and that's what my last YouTube video I just posted is about, is how to organize your thoughts and answer questions to create your fantasy scenario.
So let me ask then, what is your fantasy scenario?
Oh yeah, I did a video where I answered my own questions because the class I taught at Capcom, and it's a process I do with like clients when they come over for diaper fantasies. And I say diaper fantasies. I don't use the word mommy because I'm not a mommy to everyone. About half my clients were were DLs, age play. So I try to keep it like super general. And me myself having a diaper fetish, I just like that term. So mine is very specific, but all over the place. Because when I'm like masturbating and looking at diaper boys or look at videos, it's all over the place. Um, so
I just want to pause just for a moment. For all the Republicans listening, women also masturbate. Okay, back to what you were saying.
okay, so it would happen not on Halloween, but close to Halloween. So about a week before Halloween. And anyone that I've babysat knows I always talk about Halloween. We're like playing out some weird trick-or-treating scenario or something. Um, okay, and I'm with two diaper boys, and we're going to haunted houses. And obviously, I put them in diapers, and maybe I had to change their diapers in the car. And throughout the night of us at this theme park going to haunted houses, I'm diaper checking them, patting their bottoms, and maybe one of them gets an upset tummy and has to mess in his diaper. And we do that as we're going back to the car, and he messes his diaper, and then there's diaper sex. There's a lot of diaper groping and diaper sex in the car. Very important, because I've never had diaper sex in a car.
It sounds brave.
And there's also sushi. But before this, we go for really good sushi. That's also in it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Other than that, it's super basic. It's just Halloween, two diaper boys, me constantly checking their diapers and patting their bottoms and grinding on their diapers, and then someone messes, and then diaper sex. Super boring.
And again, though, it goes back to that when you incorporate your fetishes into real life, at least to me, it just reinforces your identity as a diaper boy or a diaper girl. Because when you take it away from the artificial settings, if you're fortunate enough to have a nursery in your home and you say that's not an artificial setting, that's my bedroom, I'm very happy for you. For everyone else, when you take it away from those artificial settings, as fun as they can be, it's just, hey, this is me. Like, this is not an affectation. This is not a fetish. This is me. I say that as someone who's 24/7. And I just love that when it stops being a fetish and just becomes, yeah, I am a diaper girl.
Right. It's real life. There's real life situations you have to do every day as a diaper girl or diaper boy.
Mm-hmm. So then tell me about those educational videos you do. That's really unique. I don't think anyone else is doing those.
Yes. That's why I started doing them, because I'm looking on YouTube and I'm like, YouTube is the second biggest search engine. And I see diaper girls doing, cute things and cute, innocent age play things. And then I see some other people talking about diapers, but it's not like helpful information. It's not like an amalgamation of like, okay, here are all the events and here's how you do this and here's how you do that. And I think I got that idea because I get so many questions from clients and through email, but mainly through people that I've seen over the years. They ask the same questions over and over again. Like, how do I join the online community? How do I do this? What's a convention like? Are there going to be DLs at conventions? Am I going to be welcome here? How do I find a munch? And it's like, yeah, I'm answering all your questions individually because you're paying for my time, but I want those questions to be answered for everybody. So it's accessible for every single person easily. And I started on Instagram. I started making videos, but you can only make videos up to 10 minutes on Instagram, and then only my private followers can see it. I was only getting like 1,000 views for those educational videos. So I'm like, that's not good enough. Like, the reach needs to be bigger so everyone can get the information. Because there are articles about this stuff, but then you have to like find the article. It's a one-off article written by someone, posted in one place, and it's helpful when you find it, but not everyone can find it easily.
And it's almost like, I think what you're describing here is almost an alternative sexuality education, right? I mean,
yeah,
like,
I've never thought about that.
Like, set aside like all the issues with sex ed in the United States. Assuming you get it and assuming it's good, it doesn't teach you anything about the alternative sexualities out there.
Yeah.
It's very clinical and it's very P and V, or other variations on P and V, but it's never about anything, kink.
Yeah. No, that's true. And there's too much. I mean, kink is so broad. There's so many
it's huge
to go, so many branches to go on. So So I think each person that has specific knowledge of their kink is on YouTube talking about it or helping educate.
Yeah. And you go, I mean, you to kind of for folks just to understand how big the world of kink is, go to clips for sale and there's a drop down menu with, the list of keywords or kinks. It is so long and it is so specific. I mean, there are such niche things out there, which I think people can relate to in the ABDL world because there are so many specific things within it. I mean, there are people who are just like, oh, I don't want to see someone, using a sippy cup. I need to see someone using a bottle, or it's just not for me. Um, it is huge and fascinating the number of things that people are into, and there's no resource. To your point, you go to a forum and someone asks a question. You're lucky if the first thing that someone replies isn't somebody already asked this. Just look it up.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna flip through, the last 10 years of this forum looking for the last
Yep.
time someone asked the question.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. And Reddit, oh my goodness. It's like when you're on there long enough, it's like you see the same questions over and over, like every month, every 2 weeks.
um, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you either stumble upon the information, or if you go looking for it, you might find it, or if you ask for it, you might get it, or you might get told, by someone who's appointed themselves the foreign police to not ask the question. Um, so the videos that you do, the how-to videos, what's the most watched one? Do you know?
Yes, I look at my stats and I pay attention to them. The most watched one has over 100,000 views, and it is the how to put on a diaper one, and it is me putting on a diaper onto a diaper girl
That is, God, that is so fascinating to me. That's the one. Why do you think that's the one?
because they want to see a girl get diapered. Simple as
So
that.
it's not the how to. It's just we know what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I diaper her over an existing diaper, and then after I diaper her and I finish with me diapering another person, then it goes to self diapering, and then it's a guy self diapering himself.
So let's just
So
not
that's
to.
where it drops off. Like I could see
Mhm.
the views are high, and then it just drops off.
So not to ruin the video for folks, but when it comes to the self diapering, I guess I have two questions. Bottom tapes first or top tapes first?
Geez. I think most people would say bottom tapes first. A few people have said top tapes first. I can't answer that because I'm not a diaper girl. I don't wear diapers.
That is true, but at the same time, there is an objectively right answer, and it's not top tapes first. Anyway, with all the people who just threw something across the room. Um, and the other one is standing up or lying down.
I've
Have you ever tried to change someone standing up?
I mean, I've diapered myself standing up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have I tried to change someone standing up? No, I have not. It's always lying down.
Have you ever? I've had this done to me once, and it was totally unexpected, and I really loved it because it was unexpected. I was lying across someone's lap, face up, mind you,
Mhm.
um, and they just lifted my knees back and diapered me that way. And I was just like, I have never felt so small in my life where it wasn't, okay, honey, get up and lie down. It was just, nope, you're fine where you are. I can do this.
Wow, that's
Uh,
awesome. I wish I could be able, like, I could do that. I wish I was bigger, just physically bigger, so I could
she
do
was
something
she
like
was actually she's smaller than me, and it was just, I guess the physics of it as my back was on the couch and my butt was on her lap, so this kind of like fulcrumed me back.
that. Okay.
Um, but it was she didn't seem to be having any trouble doing it, and I was just like, huh.
So did you hold your knees back,
Um,
or did
no,
you?
I she tilted me back a little bit, and I lifted my butt for her,
Uh-huh.
and then it was okay, back down, and that was it.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. I'm super excited.
Um, and I really enjoyed that. I thought I thought it was neat because anytime I've ever been diapered by someone else, it was much more of the, okay, sweetie, let's get up and take you to the changing mat. Um, and that is as much fun as that is. It's also very much a like it's a scene. It's for sure a scene. Um,
You think so?
I
I
well,
mean, yeah.
which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what you really want to have happen, which is you just want somebody to come along and smell what you did and pick you up and carry you to the changing table, right?
Yeah.
Um, which is never going to happen unless you're dating a giant. But I mean, for all the people out there who are thinking, well, I've never been diapered by anyone, you're a jerk for even saying that. They're all great ways to get diapered.
Right.
But that one just stood out.
I love that. I'm 100% going to try that. Maybe, mm, yeah, I'm going to try it no matter what. If I get crushed, it's worth
Yep, it helps that
it.
I'm only 5'5". I'm sure.
Oh, okay. And my local play partner is like much bigger, but he's losing weight. So that's cool.
um,
Oh, you know what I love? I love floor changes. Or just change right on the floor. That's super hot.
with someone else in the room, that's kind of my ultimate fantasy is that everyone around you just looks at you and thinks you're just a diaper boy or diaper girl or big baby when no one bats an eye when someone's like, oh, they need a change. I'm just going to do it right here on the floor with everyone in the room who don't even pause to look. They keep having their adult conversation and you're
Oh,
just
of
getting your diaper
course.
changed.
Of course. Yeah, because babies don't get privacy. That's earned.
Exactly.
Holding your pee and poo. Come on, you got to
Um,
earn that.
um, so when it comes to like the how-to stuff though, so what do you think that people are coming to learn from you? Like what's the thing that you think they are coming to those videos specifically to learn something and not just watch you diaper someone?
um, what topics you mean?
Yeah, like
Like,
what's the question that you think is the burning question that most
oh,
people need answered?
oh, geez. I mean, now I have to like look at my actual stats, but I could tell you off the top of my head, like the ones on how to book a session, is definitely popular. How to that anything that's like a how to or 101 has done well. Like my partner's ABDL. Now what? Then I did a caregivers 101. That one did well. Um, let's see what else is good. The CapCon one has good views. The spanking one has good views. Um,
And, I guess I just want to pause there. The spanking one just makes me think like this is worth pointing out to folks. Um, as much as in your mind there might be just like a natural answer to some of this stuff, and it's like, of course that's the way this is done, or of course this is how we do it. Um, that's not always the case, and it's not always a good thing to approach it that way. To approach it with a little bit of humility, to say, I'm about to hit someone or be hit.
mhm.
Knowing how to do it in a safe way is super
Yeah,
important.
it is very important.
And I will also say that if you've never been spanked before and you want to do it to someone else, have it done to you. So you have so you understand what the other person is experiencing, because you can never feel someone else's pain. You can never feel someone else's
No,
pain tolerance.
yeah.
But if you at least have something done to you before, you have a general idea.
Exactly. And I've seen tops that have no spanking experience go way too hard or spank at the wrong spots as well. So, yeah, education is super important.
And at least from my own experience, just observationally, I think one of the biggest questions people have is how do you tell a partner what you're into? And then, maybe more generally, like, how do you ask a partner to do something with you? Do you have any opinions on that or insight into that?
Yeah, I know asking a partner to do something is really, really difficult. I just know from talking to a lot of bottoms that get frustrated, that wish their other half would do this or that, but they're too shy to say anything. But they'll say it to me. or someone else, or put it on a forum, but they won't tell their partner. Um, that's tough because that's also not being ashamed of what you want and not make it seem like you're topping from the bottom. Um, I mean, you pretty like if you're bringing a partner into this as a top who's never been a top before, or a mommy or daddy, you gotta train them because they don't know what's going on, and I don't. And people look for the education I don't know where. So
I mean,
I think you have to train them on what you like. And I also made a checklist of ABDL activities and related activities that both parties can print out and check off, and then that can start a discussion.
mm-hmm. That yeah, and that is the hardest part, I think, talking about it. There'd be no such thing as kink if there weren't such a thing as shame and embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what makes these things what they are. We all know their kinks are by definition taboo. I mean, I think there are some that are a little bit more acceptable, but if you were to tell someone like that's the thing that I'm into, like that's the thing, like it's not an accompaniment to something else, that's the thing, is when it starts being taboo. And just to give you an example, I told a date once that I was into spanking, and she was like, "Oh, I like to be slapped on the butt during sex," and I didn't, I didn't say so, but in my head, I'm going, "No, I mean like that's the whole evening, like that's what we're doing." Because I think like spanking is probably like the most acceptable fetish until you go like, no, 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 that's the whole sex act.
Right, and
Um,
that's when you know, like that, it's a fetish.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's not just like a side with a side dish with the sex. That's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I could come just watching a diaper boy mess his diaper.
Yep.
I'm good.
Um, and because of that, because all these things are taboo, it is extremely hard to talk about.
It is.
Even when you have a willing partner, you have to get over all the things you've been holding inside. And the other half of it is you've been thinking about this for a long time. You probably have a number of scenarios in your head, and there might be like your favorite one, but there's probably several others. And that's something that you have been dreaming about for a long, long time. And it is so vivid in your mind. And you know exactly how you want it to go and the way you want your partner to sound and the way all of that.
Yeah,
How it's impossible to communicate all that.
it is.
Um,
One thing I have advised and would advise is to email your partner stories or videos or just elements of stories, like copy and paste like the specific paragraphs that are your favorite, or picture captions or cartoons to your partner, and email them like that, because
I
then
love that.
because then they can like watch it or read it and be like, oh, okay, and kind of get a picture.
I love that. And you know who writes really great, kinky, fun ABDL stories? Me. Um, um,
Yes.
but yeah, I think that's a great way to go about doing it, is like explaining, what you want. And that in and of itself is a fun activity also. Emailing it to someone is helpful, but then if you just want to, because you just want to like lie in bed and we'll watch porn together, that's pretty fun too. Um, and a great way to learn what your partner likes as well. Um,
I've never done
and from the top's perspective, though, what's it like trying to communicate what you want?
that. Oh boy. I mean, that's a tough one because what I want is I'm happy with so many different things, and I'll play within the parameter of what they're comfortable with. And if I know I can push it because I know them and we've communicated, then I'll push it a little bit and I'll keep pushing it. But I don't try to push something on my actual partners that I know that they're not comfortable with.
Hmm.
or not ready trying it or not ready to show me yet. A lot of it is that they're not ready to show me these private things yet, even though we've talked about them, but they might be embarrassed or it because they've never done it in front of anyone before, and they they don't know how I'm going to react or how they're going to react or feel about it. So I'll try to encourage it, but I try not to push it until
Have you?
they're ready.
So, I mean, there's a couple of interesting things there, and one of them is something that I've said before in these interviews that I've done is that in a lot of ways, and I know people don't like to talk about this because it kind of ruins it in their head, but the submissive or the bottom is the one in charge
Oh,
because
totally.
they set the
They
limit.
are. Yeah, they're completely in charge in that
Um,
sense.
yeah, and people hate that because it just it ruins the scenario of like I don't want to be in charge. I want to be totally submissive. It's like, but you're saying where the line is.
Yes.
You say where it stops. So anything up to that point, you could say I'm giving up all control, but you're maintaining that sort of veto power.
Hmm.
The other piece of it, and I wonder if you've experienced this back when you were running a nursery, is because someone wants to be totally submissive, they want to just be totally the bottom, they don't want to make any decisions, is having someone come to you and say, just, I want, pro mommy services or DL services, and they don't want to decide anything else.
Oh, that's tough because I've had that before where they're like, I just want you to be a mommy. And then that's when I start asking them all the questions that I have um, in that, how to find out your fantasy, how to communicate your fantasy video on my YouTube. And it's actually like a PDF file too with all these different questions. So I start that process
Yep. And
right
for
away.
folks who've never done it before, if you go see a professional BDSM, ABDL, um, if they don't have a form for you to fill out, they're probably not a great professional to go see.
Mhm.
Um, this and as a general rule, they ought to be interested in who you really are, how to contact you, if you have any medical conditions. I mean, they're taking on a ton of responsibility and liability for you and your person. You want them to ask a ton of questions. You want them to know these things because it's your body, and your dime.
Yeah, it's their money. So they're the ones in charge. I'm making their fantasies come true in the most organic, natural way possible,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Oh, get crap. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang it. What was I gonna say? I had a really good point and I forgot. What were we talking about?
Diapers.
Okay, let's talk about diapers.
Um,
No, but it was about communication. Crap. It was like something important too.
well, let's see if we can think of it as we keep going.
Yeah.
Um, so there are not a ton of tops out there. I mean, if you want to think about it in an absolute
No.
sense, there
Oh, I
there are.
remember. I
Oh,
remember what
go
I was
go ahead.
gonna say. Okay. I've seen like oh not I've seen, but I've heard firsthand stories from clients that have seen other pro nurseries around the country and they didn't have a good experience because when they would get there, then the pro caregiver would just go through like not a spiel, but go through like an act of what they think an AB wants and not deviate from that and not ask them questions about their interests. But does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I had that
They would just
experience
have like
once.
this checklist like okay, feed them baby food, okay, color for 10 minutes, okay, do this, and then they wouldn't interact with the diaper, they wouldn't be doing the other stuff because maybe they had a completely different scenario in mind, but the person didn't ask them or get to know them or get to know their scenario.
Definitely. The first time I went and saw, and this is becoming easily the most NSFW one of these I've ever done. the first time I went and saw a pro, you know, I ended up seeing her because she listed ABDL as one of the things that she did. I mean, it was a large city, so there were a lot of pros, but she listed it. It's one of the first things that came up when I started googling around. Um, and what I discovered from the experience, not that it wasn't an enjoyable experience, it was the first time for me getting to live out some fantasies with someone in person. She wasn't an ABDL or caregiver. She was a Dom, you know,
Right.
pure Dom who happened to do this other thing. So for her, uh, she just kind of made up a scenario because I didn't really have one in mind. And again, this is why um, it's important to kind of go into it with an idea, and then
Mm-hmm.
for again, you want the person you're playing with to have questions and ideas. But she kind of came up with a scenario that just kind of left me going, you know, well, I can do that alone at home. Um,
Oh, okay.
but I didn't speak up because I didn't, I was just nervous to be there at all.
I know, and I think a lot of people don't speak up,
Yeah.
and then we hear about the stories later.
And what you can do though, I mean, you can speak up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's especially helpful to speak up in advance
Mm-hmm.
and to communicate. And then ideally, if you're seeing a particular person regularly, whether it's a pro or, you know, fingers crossed, a romantic partner,
Mm-hmm.
um, you don't have to have those conversations again and again. They know you. They know what you like.
Right.
You know what they like,
Uh-huh.
and it makes it so much easier to approach, even if it's not really, though it could be more of that lifestyle as opposed to plotting out a scene. Like
Right.
you walk through the door and it's like, oh, they're here. I know when they walk through that door, this is the person they become and what they need.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And some people want a scene, because they have a specific or certain.
Absolutely. And it's helpful. I mean, let's say you're fortunate enough to end up in more of that lifestyle relationship. You still are probably going to want to have scenes because you're going to have some stray kinky thought. And it's like,
Yeah.
geez, I don't want to try that. And
Totally.
that's like one of life's best things is when all that you stumble across something or a stray thought crosses your head and it's like, oh, that's that's new and fun. Um, you know, who wouldn't want to have that just keeps life interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Role playing as ABDL, as lifestyle ABDL. That's awesome. Yeah, because I still like that. And I really like that about when I was pro was that I got to play out so many different fantasies and learn so many different fantasies because when I started, I didn't have a lot of fantasies.
Um, so that is an interesting rabbit hole that we probably don't want to dive all the way down because probably deserves like a part two of this interview. But I'm really curious about some of the more more interesting or surprising scenarios that people have come to you for or that you've come up with.
Okay, that might be its own episode. I don't think there's anything that crazy that.
Which let's just pause right there for a second, just to contextualize that.
Okay.
Because if we were to ask a regular person, if someone were to come to you and say what they really want to do is poop in your living room, would you
On the
say that's
floor?
not crazy?
On the floor with no diaper or in their pants or in a
Either one. Either one. If it forget about that, if it was just a stranger saying, I want to come in and use your bathroom, you would think this is a weird day.
Amazing.
That's how fringe we are now.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, yeah. I mean, I would have to like really think about all the different scenarios because there's literally been everything from like witchcraft and magic. Not that many. I think only two were like that. To just
You know what though? At least in for ABDL writing, that's a really popular genre
oh
of
yeah,
magic regression. Very
yes,
popular.
yeah. And I've had a few video requests for magic. I guess it's a lot harder to do it in real life because I can't do the magic.
Sorry, folks out there. There is no such thing as magic.
Yeah, I wish.
I just made the littles cry.
To just, DL scenarios, and I'm just someone's wife having to put them back in diapers because they're incontinent.
Which is, for me, that's one of my favorite scenarios.
Oh yeah,
Um,
mine too. I'll have to send you some MP3s of
I
yours.
really look forward to that.
Oh, okay.
I know what I'm doing this weekend um,
But
for
wait,
5 times.
but are you okay if there's like diaper sex in them, or do you want them to be more tamer?
A variety is the spice of life.
Okay.
Um,
Almost all of them have messing.
I'm okay with that.
I know.
um, um, anyway, we were going to talk about this the fact that like for it's at least it seems because it's hard to tell. Like there's no stats on the ABDL community.
No, that's something I want to discuss too, because I think it is much bigger than anybody thinks.
So okay, let's talk about that for a few minutes then, because what I seem to have noticed is, and this is a perspective thing that comes with being in my mid 30s, um, having observed the community for more than a decade. It's I feel it's gotten bigger.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't know if it's the expansion of the internet and social media that's making it seem bigger, or if it's the expansion of social media exposing more people to ABDL and them realizing, hey, this is one of my kinks and joining the community.
Mhm.
But um, when I started out, like there was Daily Diapers,
Yeah.
there was A Disc,
Yeah.
there was Stanley Thornton's site,
Yeah.
like, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Um,
DPF, and that was, and
and
Bite Mine.
yeah, DPF, Bite Mine, careforbaby.com. I mean, there were a few of them, but it was not a huge community. And just like there are now, especially on the forums, you know, people are on all of them. So it's not like, discrete populations on different websites. But now it seems like age play in general has gotten a lot more popular.
Yep. It's on every single social media forum, period.
Absolutely. And so a number of years ago, I told a couple of friends of mine about FetLife,
Hmm.
and they had never seen it. Um, which led one of them to conclude that, quote, you're a much more interesting person than I thought you were.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if it's still the front page, but the front page of it at the time was a woman in a really elaborate shibari knot. Um,
Yes.
and another one, separate conversation, he just was kind of curious about it. And he said, I'm really surprised by how many people are into diapers. So there's someone who wasn't into it, but he couldn't avoid finding it, just clicking around this site, wondering what was going on.
That's great.
Um,
That's awesome. I think it's a combination of both exposure and just people being online and having access to all these things and being able to look it up.
do you think it's becoming more acceptable?
Yes, definitely. Mm,
Why?
maybe not so much the diapers right away, but that's slowly becoming more like seen because of social media. Why do I think it's becoming more acceptable? Because there's just more social media accounts in that realm. So people see it more. They see it on YouTube, they see it on TV shows. And I think most, even like mainstream people, have heard about littles or age play. They may not know about the diapers, but they understand the littles concept and age playing.
Most people of a certain age, I think, for sure, especially if you're Gen Z. Millennials span such a wide age range at the moment. It's like 25 to 40 now.
Oh,
And, at least if
what
you go
was
by
it,
the
millennials?
if you go by the literal definition, that's what it is.
Oh, okay. So what's Z? Z is like under 25?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna probably end up being like 1996 to 2010 is kind of the proposed age range
Oh,
that
okay.
demographers might end up using on it. But in any case, like 25 to 40 are just radically different
Yeah.
points in your life, for one thing. And also, given the pace of change with technology,
Uh-huh.
radically different experiences of early adulthood. If you
Oh yeah.
were 25, 15 years ago, it's very different being 25 now.
Big time.
Um, and I think, I think you're right. I think it is just more exposure and seeing it more. It wouldn't probably shock someone in their early 20s who wasn't into this stuff to see a picture of a young woman in a onesie, for instance.
Oh no, that almost seems mainstream now
Yeah. And
for that
not
age group.
at all the case 15 years ago, at all.
No, 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 definitely not. Um, what I want to bring up 2 points is that you're only you're only talking about the online community, the people who choose to be online, to choose to make an account and post
Mm-hmm.
on these social media sites. There's still a ton of people that don't do any of that,
Yeah,
that
for
that we're
sure.
not counting. And I know this because in my nursery, I saw hundreds of people in the 5 years I was active. It was only 5 years. I saw hundreds of all ages, and a lot of them were not active online at all. I would encourage them to be active online, and they wouldn't know how. That was just their thing, their fetish. They like to look and peruse and go for a session here and there, and that's it. But none of them knew about FetLife, Instagram, Twitter, that there were other people like that. They just watched the porn, online, and bought it, downloaded it, consumed it, but never reached out to other people.
So that is, I think that's really interesting. And it segues into something worth talking about. And you kind of raised it earlier with one of your educational videos.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, I would bet that you're under 30, that you're very tech savvy, and that you have a number of accounts on social media or forums for your kinks. You know how to do that, and not just the technical aspect of it, though that's part of it, but you know how to be a part of this community. Not everyone does. Um, and you raised it earlier in your how-to video of how to be a part of a community. And it crops up, I think, in very real ways every day, where you see people who are struggling to interact in online communities. Like, they figured out, okay, I know where to go to find these things, but they don't know how to talk to other people yet. They don't know the etiquette.
Yes. Should I make a video about this? I don't know if I'm the best person to teach it, but I might
I
need some help.
I kind of feel like almost anybody could teach some of that, who has a sense of, um, there are a lot of other terms out there, but
Awareness?
awareness. But like, I think kind of the one that comes to at least my mind immediately is safe, sane, consensual. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
emphasize the consensual. It kind of applies across BDSM, but in ABDL, I think there are also a lot of nuances to it. ABDL is part of BDSM, but it is and I don't know if you've heard this term before, it's edge play.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'll tell
Yeah.
the world what that means, because a lot of people don't know what that means.
Oh geez. I don't even know what the proper terminology is, but it's like a kink that the mainstream kinksters are like, what the fuck?
Yes.
Fucked up. And I'm not sure if I want that in the dungeon space, in this play space, because it's too much. It's going to trigger people. It's just misunderstanding.
And what those kinks that are considered edge play have in common is the degree to which they're taboo, usually for a few reasons. One is because, they depict something that is just like socially reprehensible,
Yep.
um,
I know this.
um, or because they involve bodily fluids,
Hmm.
or because they mimic violence.
Yeah.
Um, and ABDL, for it obviously ticks the bodily fluids thing, but for a lot of people, it ticks the socially reprehensible thing because they don't understand it.
Right.
And sort of because of that, we're part of the BDSM world, but we're definitely apart from the BDSM world.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's its
Um,
own thing.
so anyway,
But it's huge.
I think it is. I think it is bigger than people realize, and it's also really challenging to go into a BDSM space. I've done it, and be the little,
Yeah.
because you know that it's going to be
Totally.
full of people, wearing leather and hating each other and all those fun things. But you don't know if there's going to be anybody like you there.
No, that's so brave of you.
Well, I've never actually done that, but I
Oh,
know.
I thought you said you did. Okay.
No, but I know people who have, and I've heard a lot of people saying great things about it. I talked to someone who said that they went to a Halloween play party that was hosted by a local group. There were 100 people there, and they were the only little, and that did not stop them. He said that he put down his blankie on the floor, he got out his toys, he sat there in his diaper, and he played trucks. And every once in a while, some very nice person would stop and would just play with him. Like, oh,
That's
can I
awesome.
play with your trucks? So he had a great experience. But I was just like, wow, you are like the bravest person I know.
Yeah. I remember I went to my first fetish con in Florida in 2007, and there was one ABDL there. So I went up to him. I was like, OMG, this is so cool. I own ABDL sites. That's so great. Are you the only one here? And he was. We didn't see anyone else.
What's great about it is if you do go to an event like that and there's only a handful of you, it's like you found your crew.
Yeah, you're going to bond right away.
Yeah.
You're going to gravitate. And it helps other people see that, oh, this is a fetish.
Mm-hmm. And that it is not as weird as they may think.
Right.
I think people have all kinds of misconceptions about other people's kinks because I've met people at munches before and it's like, oh, what are you into? And they're like impact play, and it's like I enjoy impact play. What do what are your favorite implements? And I say like paddle, and they say like lead pipe, and I'm just like,
Wow.
oh, okay, well that's your thing. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And then in my head I'm going, how is what I like the unacceptable thing?
Right.
um,
I don't understand. Well, because they think it's,
yeah, or I've met people who are just squicked out by urine. Like,
oh, yeah.
I actually had a play partner for a hot minute who was all very enthusiastic in theory, and then it was just like, you want me to do what with your diaper? And just
Oh, wait,
like
hold on. What was the what? Was it change your diaper?
change. It was just, yeah, change.
Oh,
That was it.
okay.
And it was just like, have you literally like never changed a diaper in your entire life?
Some people haven't.
So, some people
I never
haven't.
have. I never have until I changed my first diaper.
On an adult, you mean?
Yeah, on an adult. I
Yeah,
never changed like baby's diapers ever.
yeah. I've actually only done it once.
Oh, okay.
And but but
Did she think you were gonna poop in your diaper?
no,
Oh, okay.
no. She came over, and it actually started out as a romantic relationship. It was the one time I have ever met someone on FetLife, and we went on a date, like just a normal date. And then in the background was, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? Um, and she had kind of put herself forward as a dominant. She really wasn't. She didn't really know what she was, which is perfectly okay. Like people
Right.
need to figure these things out, and you figure things out by doing them, right?
Totally.
But when it came time for her to be dominant, she just had a more difficult time, I think, doing it than she thought she would.
Hmm.
And then, not just the idea of changing a wet diaper, but even of I have not been wearing a diaper and putting one on me. To her, that was too much.
Wait, that was too much, was putting you in the diaper?
Yeah, and for me, I was kind of like we kind of like discussed all these things beforehand,
Wait, too
and
much what? Like just too much ickiness
yeah,
or too weird?
too weird for her.
Too weird?
Um,
Okay.
and then, again, that's okay. You can
Right.
always back out of whatever you're doing with someone,
Right.
always.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it goes back to this, the importance of communication.
I wonder if it's because some DOMs, I'm like air quoting, you can't see it. I should probably like get up because I'm talking weird because I'm lying down. All right. Because some dominant people think that changing diapers is beneath them. It's like what a sub would do. And a dom would not do that because it's like gross.
Mm, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. Because it's a service thing.
For sure.
Like, me as the diaper changer is doing the service. And then doms are like, oh no, I don't do the service part.
Which also goes back to just the many varieties and flavors of ABDL.
Yes.
Because putting someone in a diaper as an act of dominance is definitely a thing. Putting someone in a diaper as an act of caregiving is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things that I love about ABDL is it intersects with so many other kinks.
Mm.
Um, but it kind of just, I think, at least my own experience underscores how difficult it is to find a top or caregiver as an ABDL because there's definitely, as big as the community has gotten, at least without having any numbers about folks, there's an imbalance. There are a lot more people who want to be the bottom and not the top.
Oh, totally. Okay. So I think for most people in ABDL, the diapers came first. At least with most of the people I've talked to with and polled, they had a diaper interest first and then age play.
Yep, I think that's very true.
Okay. So tops don't know that this is an option. All of it. How would they
Mm-hmm.
know until they saw it? Like if I didn't find Wet Set, like let's say if Wet Set was just female desperation and Omarashi, that's it. Then I wouldn't have seen people in diapers. I wouldn't have seen age play. So how would I know until I saw it somewhere, I saw a scene, I saw a story, or someone told me about it?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I know a lot of the people I know who are in an ABDL couple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most of them did not meet as ABDLs. One of them
Yes.
introduced it to the other,
Yes. Yep.
um, which is kind of it's disappointing because it does definitely make it harder because it kind of closes off. Well, I'm just going to meet another ABDL, and that's going to be the person I fall in love with and marry. Because that'd be great because then you could skip the I really like this person and I am risking everything else I like about them by bringing this up. But the experience of being a top or a caregiver in social or online spaces is different. That's a very easy way of putting it. It's different than the experience of being a little in those same spaces. And you've been the top in those spaces. Like, what's that like? What's kind of like the daily experience of, I'm the caregiver, I'm the mommy, I'm the top, and everyone knows it.
Okay. So when I was pro, when I first started out, I did identify as mommy, and that was in my name, was the title mommy. And I mean, it still happens now, but a lot of people, they'll just call me mommy, and they'll do it on social media in DMs and PMs and emails. And if they're booking me on a professional level, and then that's cool. I'm totally cool with that because that means that we are going to do a scene eventually and a session scene. And yes, I'm going to be your mommy if that's the role you see me as. But I don't like it when like random people call me mommy. And a lot of people would do that and would just start role playing with me. And I just ignore it. Just ignore it. That's all. But
Yep.
then I took the title mommy out of my name. And that's when I became diaper perv. And granted, that was after, my diaper fetish kicked in big time. And I don't identify as a mommy now. I mean, I do in my private life with certain people, but I'm just a diaper boy groupie because diapers are my fetish. That's my main fetish, and I don't need the role play, the age play, or that mommy boy dynamic to enjoy it. I'm into DLs probably more. So yes, people like just messaging tops and just calling them mommy, will you do this, and start role playing with them. They need to stop it, please.
So I'm looking at my phone right now, and I've been on Twitter for less than 90 days. Um,
Really?
yeah. And I started at the end of last year. I was like, okay, I really want to start taking my ABDL kink writing more seriously and putting it out there, and like making more than $20 a month on it. And everybody's like, oh, well, you just have to get on Twitter. Like Twitter's like you can post in all the forums and it won't be nearly as effective as Twitter. And
Oh,
they were right. Um,
yes.
and my identity has evolved a little bit in those 90 days. Because when I first got on, I was really just anytime I uploaded a chapter to Patreon, I was just posting it on Twitter. And then I saw other writers who were like writing microfiction. Like I'm just going to write a story in a handful of tweets, or just one tweet, or I'm just going to describe a scenario, or sometimes it's a single sentence. That because we all know like that's a lot of times that's all it takes is for like the right sentence to come into your head and the scenario you build in your mind around that. Like I'm going to start doing that, and sometimes it's as a little because I would say I mostly am a little middle, and sometimes it's in the voice of a big because I'm a writer. That's what I do. I write different characters. Today, someone called me mommy. And though I do identify as non-binary, and in a perfect world, I would be the pretty redhead that is my Twitter avatar. I I probably don't sound like a mommy to you. And just now, I get a DM. Hey, I've been a good boy today. And actually, it's I've been a good boy, totsy, and then below it today because typo.
I don't know what tootsie means.
It's a typo. He meant to say today, and he
Oh,
spelled it with an S.
okay. Okay, I see. Wait, that was the first one you got?
Actually, no. This person has messaged me before, and I just ignored him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I got. I got another one. Is there a way to not be submissive to women anymore?
Is there a way to not be okay? All right.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
are you gonna ignore it, or are you gonna like don't be submissive to them?
I mean, I'm assuming the guy is just he wants me to interact with him because it gets him off.
Yeah, right,
He
right.
wants me
Yes.
to. I mean, he wants me to try to answer the question for that reason.
Oh,
Although,
yeah. Yes.
yeah, and people, that's basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to get free role play. Now,
Yeah, I know this because I
you
get
you're
this a lot.
you're
I just
well aware of
ignore
it.
them. Yeah.
Um, and I can say to date myself, although I think we've both done a great job of that. The first social site I got on was MySpace. Um, and I did meet a young woman on MySpace in the ABDL community, and we did end up having a role play relationship. But it didn't start out with me trying to, you know, not exactly con them, but like bait them into role play.
Yeah.
It started out with, hi, how are you? You know, what's your life like? What kind of person are you? And then it was, hey, do you RP? Over a period of, days or weeks, that conversation took place. It's not, just someone reaching out. So I'll put the question to you.
Mhm.
How would you prefer people reach out to you? Not necessarily as a professional, but just as someone who is visible as a top.
Okay. It depends on what their, I guess, goal is. Like if it's a question, I'll answer direct questions. No problem. Like if it's for advice or a direct question, like, hey, where did you get this? Or where can I find this thing I saw in your video? That's super cool. If it's like to pick me up, I've actually, you have to have game, just old school game. Like I don't do online role playing,
Mhm.
but if it's literally to like, yeah, to try and pick me up, it's a lost art, old school game.
Yeah, I think it very much is a lost art because
Yeah, I
people
know.
don't, the whole notion of picking someone up, I think, is kind of dead.
Oh, it is. Young people can't fucking do it. I mean,
No,
now I set myself an age limit, like a minimum age, which
um,
is 29 for anyone listening. I guess I should post that. Like, no one under 29 contact me if you want to, like, you know.
because what's happened with this, the world of social media and online dating combined is you
Uh-huh.
either, it seems to me that you either meet someone when you're a kid and you go through like the normal ways of just finding out, hey, I like this person, and how to how to tell them that and have a relationship, or someone introduces you, or online dating. But the notion of I'm going to meet someone at a singles bar, which don't even exist anymore, or I'm going to meet someone at the grocery store or the gym. My dad has told me so many times, why don't you just join a gym? It's like, for a number of reasons, beginning with me at the gym is not where I'm at my most physically impressive.
But that's the point of the gym is to work towards the physically impressive.
Absolutely. And I would say that's exactly what a gym is for. What it's not for is picking people up.
I've
Um,
no guys have picked me up at the gym. Like this is like before diapers. Oh yeah.
in other words, before 1996. Um, but it's like, yeah, that used to be totally normal. It used to be totally normal. And today I feel like if I tried to do that, I would get shot down. And then like 2 minutes later, like gym personnel would be there like, it's time for you to leave.
I don't think that's true. I mean, I've met friends at the gym. I've talked to guys at the gym, usually because they're talking to me because I'm too shy to talk to guys. Like I don't want to disturb anybody. But I've talked, yeah, no, I've initiated conversation with guys at the gym if I see them doing something unique or like a different way of doing a movement. I'd be like, oh, I've never seen that before, and start a conversation.
Yeah. And that's, that's the way I guess it would have to happen because it's germane, right? It's not an obvious come on. Because
Oh yeah,
when
yeah,
people go to the place like the gym, like they're there to work out.
yeah,
And most people are like, I haven't been home. I'm hungry. I just want to get out of here. So
yeah.
the notion of going up to someone and saying, "Did it hurt when you fell from heaven?" Um,
Oh,
not gonna work. Not
that's
gonna
so
work.
cheesy.
Uh,
Okay, so I'll tell everybody the secret of how to like pick me up. Well, and I've been picked up, not picked up, but I've met diaper boys that I didn't know before in real life and have hooked up with them. But mainly because they're really cute
mhm.
and because they stuck around. They
Yep.
stuck around after everybody left. And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm diaper horny. You're
And that is one of the other things that I think is worth. We're like running pretty long here, but maybe this is the last thing that we talk about is munches and events.
Wait, but I didn't even tell everybody how to pick me up.
Oh, you're right. How do we pick you up?
Start and pick up
We're
other
opening a
people, not
floodgate
pick
here,
up,
by the way.
but not pick up, but I guess just interact with them
Yeah,
normally. That's it. Find out what their fucking other interests are. Like read through their freaking profile and pictures and shit. See that they play this game, whatever. Then talk about it. And don't
yeah.
talk about your diapers in the first day.
Yeah. Or in my case, absolutely. First of all, read my profile. I mean, it's Twitter. The profile is literally 100 characters.
Yes.
Like I know nobody has an attention span anymore, and I'm totally guilty of it. But you can get through 100 characters, and I know that because you're reading my content, and that's why I reached out in the first place. So before you call me mommy, realize that I'm not a 25-year-old redhead. And then compliment my writing. Read some of my stuff. Read some of my stuff that's not content and it's just me chatting. But never try just to interact with someone to get free role play or even worse, just because it's not worse, but just more tiresome because it happens 15 times a day. It happens on vanilla dating as well. And everybody says it, like, don't message me and just say hi.
Oh yeah, no, I don't respond to anything that's just hi, how are you? That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just the equivalent of like at a bar or a club of a dude coming up to me and staring at me and just going hi. That's it. And then nothing else. That's weird. Then I'll say hi. And then what are you gonna say? Just say the thing you're gonna say. Don't just say hi.
Which is in a way is disappointing because as an ABDL, I recall that it used to be really effective. I'm 34, so let's say, 30 years ago, to just walk up to someone and say, will you be my friend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, two littles can do that.
Two littles can do it,
life,
yeah.
Like at a con and stuff. Yeah, I see that all the time, and that actually works. Like, I'm going to play blocks with you.
And it's like, it's too bad that doesn't work as an adult. But it doesn't.
It doesn't because the supply and demand is different in this type of scenario.
Absolutely.
Because there's a variety of people trying to get my attention. I know I already have tons of diaper boys I talk to. What's going to make you special? You have to give me good conversation.
I also think to realize that if you see someone has a Patreon or an OnlyFans or in ManyVids or in all my links, I mean, whatever in their bio, they're not giving anything away for free. If you want to make friends with them, try to make friends with them.
Yes.
And maybe then you can role play with them.
Right. Or just be friends.
Friends.
Lovers. Whatever.
But if someone is selling ABDL content, they're not going to give it to you for free, period.
Exactly. Also, being very witty online and showing that you have a personality goes a long way. Like, there is one guy that I noticed on FetLife. I noticed how his hilariously sarcastic replies, and I made it a point to meet him at CapCon. I was disappointed that I didn't meet him at the 19 CapCon, and then I was like, okay, for CapCon 2020, I have to meet him. But I didn't want to come off as a creep to him on FetLife. So, we just had a couple of casual exchanges, and he went to like an event that I was hosting at CapCon, and I was so excited because I really wanted to meet him no matter what. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get along because I can tell because you're hilarious and interesting.
And I guess that's such a wonderful thing to point out for folks is if you are an interesting person, this is true in any, ABDL outside of it, if you're an interesting person, if you have interesting things to talk about, you're funny, you're smart, people will come to you. Like, you don't have to chase tops or caregivers. If you are just someone who is just generally has a personality that attracts other people, tops will want to come to you. What that, of course, requires, and this is really hard, is having a personality. And everyone has a personality. Sometimes it sucks. But most people, they don't have a sucky personality. They just have a very difficult time communicating their personality online.
I fully agree. And this guy that I like basically stalked for a year, he never put a picture of himself online. I didn't even know what he looked like, but I knew I was so attracted to his personality. I knew that we would get along.
Well, we've gone on for a bit, and it's getting late
Oh,
where I am.
geez. Oh,
Um,
okay.
but this
So,
was a lot of fun, and I
are,
suspect that we might want to do this again in the future.
are you 2 hours ahead or 3 hours ahead of me?
2 hours ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess your city,
um,
but I get two
so,
clues.
all right, so it's in the Midwest, obviously.
Okay.
It's not Chicago.
Do you have a football team?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm looking at a map because I am not American. Okay, I have a good guess, but I'll guess it after we finish this.
Sure thing. So as long as we're talking about cons, I don't, and CapCon obviously didn't happen this year. TeddyCon is happening in November. Are you attending TeddyCon?
I am not because it is too close to Halloween. And around Halloween, I'm traveling a couple times before that. And I'm also involved in a charity haunted house that's here in Vegas. So a lot of my time and energy goes towards the operation and stuff of that.
So just, you know, my recommendation for that charity haunted house is you should be offering people diapers at the door.
Oh, that
Uh,
I know. Someone joked about that before, that that would be a really good like promotional kind of thing. Um, yes, I one girl peed her pants apparently. I couldn't see it because it was so dark, but she was saying, "I peed my pants."
it's funny if that happens to someone, like it seems like 50-50. Half of the people would hide it, and half the people wouldn't shut up about it. And I say that because someone I know that happened to them recently when their toddler kicked them really hard in the balls.
Oh, okay.
So much so that he wet himself. And I was just like, why are you telling me this story? Like, don't you have the good sense to keep that to yourself? This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to TeddyCon for folks if you want to know. And I don't know yet. I'm going to be presenting anything there, but I may, and I'll definitely be looking to meet some fans. And it's all the way in November, so I'm sure we'll talk about it again later. But this was, like I said, a ton of fun. I'm really glad that we could speak tonight.
Yeah, totally. Oh my goodness. So I'm already thinking, even though I'm not going to TeddyCon, all the ways I can like totally embarrass you at TeddyCon. I'd be like, it's Alex Bridges, and do something really,
I would love for that to happen. Just be
really.
like, is there a celebrity here? And
Yeah.
it's like, it's Alex Bridges. He's like the Michael Crichton of the ABDL literary world.
Right, and they would pay attention because they'd be like, "Oh my God, diaperperv is freaking out over someone."
Um, so I do want to make a couple plugs before we end. Same plugs I always make. First is if there are ABDL content creators that you like, make sure you're following them in multiple places just so that in case they get deplatformed, because ABDL content creators are always in danger of getting deplatformed, you can find them again and support them again.
Yeah.
The second one is pay for your porn.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is if you are not familiar with what happened in Arkansas this past week, the state legislature passed a law banning gender affirming care for trans youth. It is a horrible, terrible law that basically deprives children of necessary life-saving health care.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight's not over. I have pledged that all of the sales from my book, I'm Not a Little Girl, which is on Amazon, and when I post this, I'll post a link to it for the next month, will go to funding the litigation fighting that law, and that I will match those purchases up to $500. So, if that is an issue that you care about, please go buy the book. I'll match the funds. I'll make sure it gets to people who are fighting that terrible child abuse law in Arkansas.
That's amazing. That's super crazy. I just read about it today.
Yeah,
And
it
that's so
is.
sad. That's so fucked up.
It is absolutely horrifying. But we know that we're right and that the law's on our side, and they're not going to get away with it. But to make that happen, we have to fund the fight against it. Thank you again. You
Yeah.
can find me, Alex Bridges, on Patreon and diaperperv, as she said at the beginning of the interview. You can find her content on YouTube, and when you find it there, you'll see the links to her other sources.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. And I do have Eclipse for sale where there's a ton of ABDL mommy videos and audios and girls wetting their pants. And I'll just quickly plug that. It's clipsforsale.com/8256.
Thank you for that. And I will just say that I love the content that you produce. It is, um, it's a little bit more realistic than what you encounter in some other places. And what I think I like about it most is that you do a lot of interactive videos. It's not just one person. That's fun, but it's those interactions of watching a big and little or a dom and a sub. At least for me, that's a lot more exciting.
Oh, that's cool. Well, thank you.
So thank you again, and thank you to all the listeners out there. Have a good night.